If it's just beginning, it's just begun. And I just told you niggas, I'm from the Valley of the Sun. I got them lyrics that'll keep your bitch straight, strong. And when I come, nigga, then you know it's been wrong. Cause I got lyrics, nigga, and they won't stop. When I'm in this booth, it's freestyle straight off the top. Fuck you niggas, man, we done opened up shop. And you could catch us on the south side, nigga, what's up? Give me my love, nigga, I'm not asking, I'm demanding. And I done told you niggas, yeah, that's right, I'm demanding. And y'all motherfuckers better watch your mouth, cause I'm the king of the Rockies, way down south. I come so close to the border of Mexico. And Phoenix niggas got connects out to the border, you know. And me and RDP, man, we rep the show. Let's be them Rocky Mountain Kings, bitch, we ready to blow. MistaTre calling out, listen now, RDP is calling out, listen now. Rocky Mountain Kings is where the fuck is going down. And this is just the beginning. Come on, y'all in the city, they calling out, listen now. Y'all didn't think it's going down, listen now. Y'all in the city, they calling out, listen now. And this is just the beginning. Come on. 22 years old and I'm in the game. The mission of my life, dog, it's in my name. Riches dollar pursuit, keep it hotter than the flame. I'm the best, not you. Everything you say sounds the same. 22 years old and I'm in the game. The mission of my life, dog, it's in my name. Riches dollar pursuit, keep it hotter than the flame. I'm the best, not you. Everything you say sounds the same. Keep up at my speed and get the fuck out my way. This is just the beginning, so imagine what's on the way. RMK headed to the top, RDP and MistaTre. We're too good to ever stop, so you know we're here to stay. With you go for solo rappers that is known to mankind. Put us together with the best for as long as we staying alive. Better than any rappers, be competition by landslide. Coming for all you bastards, y'all can run, but you can't hide. Y'all didn't see, they calling out, listen now. RDP is calling out, listen now. Rocky Mountain Kings is where the fuck is going down. And this is just the beginning. Come on, y'all didn't see, they calling out, listen now. Y'all didn't think it's going down, listen now. Y'all didn't see it going down, listen now. And this is just the beginning. Come on, y'all didn't see they calling out, listen now. RDP is calling out, listen now. Rocky Mountain Kings is where the fuck is going down. Ain't no run, that's the beginning. Come on, y'all didn't see it coming down, listen now. Y'all didn't think it's going down, listen now. Y'all didn't see it coming down, listen now.
That's right. In the house, high tide stick, boy. What? Definitely a lot going on in the world of politicking, as they say. So, like I said, a lot going on in politics today. A lot going on in the government side of things. So, there's a lot to be discussed today. I'm just gonna call it what it is. There's a lot to be discussed today. Let's be real about it. Hold on, let me adjust my mic here. Mic check 212. All right, there we go. So again, a lot going on in, like I said, the land of politics, the world of politics, however you want to word it. And because of that, matter of fact, right now behind the CNN poll showing poll numbers, like I said, a lot going on. I mean, welcome to High Tide Stick. You're on High Tide Stick with the doc, MistaTre. It's Tuesday. It's Taco Tuesday. I love Taco Tuesday. I gotta have me at least one taco on Taco Tuesday. Oh yeah. I don't play around about no Taco Tuesday because I'm from Arizona. So, Taco Tuesday is very serious to me, just so you know. On some real stuff. I love me some Taco Tuesday, bruh. Yes, indeedy. Coffee. So, I'm going to get right into the first thing that's bugging me today. And I think that it's something that warrants a little bit of a discussion. Trump. That's why I didn't look over my shoulder, because I was like, really? You're gonna green light the story on CNN right when I start the story on my show? That's awesome. So Trump's kind of going after the throat of Jeb Bush, aka Jeb. He doesn't like to go by Bush because he wants to be detached from his brother, from his brethren. Ridiculous, if you ask me. But Jeb, our good friend Jeb, since we are here in Florida, that's what we're gonna call it. Our good friend Jeb Bush, because we're here in Florida. Him and Trump are in an exchange on Twitter that's actually, it's kind of funny. I mean, I kind of look at it like this: if the GOP is going to sit around and beat each other up, then let them beat each other up. I mean, that to me is insane and ridiculous to get involved in the middle of that. I mean, what I would beg to argue is, why get in the middle of a fight that is helping you? And that would be my advice for, someone like Secretary of State Madam Clinton. Hillary, that is. I thought that she'd be smart just to stay out of it. Let those two tear each other apart. I mean, essentially, we're already allowing an independent party or study. Well, let's call it what it is. We're allowing an independent party to investigate another person from another party over something that's already been investigated by. It's already been investigated 8 times, but apparently we need a 9th investigation. And of course, that leads into the Benghazi thing. We're going to hit that today. We're going to hit Bernie Sanders reacts to the impersonation done on Saturday Night Live of him. It was pretty funny. So we'll get that. That's from High Times Magazine, by the way. We're going to talk about Florida education news, class sizes, playgrounds, teacher training, and more. Just going to kind of look over that real quick and just see if there's anything worth, we might skip this one. Just go straight into politics, bro. So anyway, Florida politics. We're going to get into Tampa politics. Rubio says he didn't mislead on campaign finance report. So we're going to get into Marco Rubio's money. Why not? It's a big deal here in Florida. For those of you that don't know who Senator Rubio is or anything like that, he's a big deal. He's a big deal and a big part of Florida politics on the Republican side of things, at least here in the great state of Florida, where I reside now. I don't know if we're gonna have anybody calling in. I mean, we could have like a a normal Chris from Bay City call in or something like that. But I don't anticipate anybody calling in today. So it's going to be just a pretty much a good, clean show on what's going on in the news. And we're going to talk about it. I mean, if you want to call in, 719-201-3609, the Little Tommy Tiki's hotline, give us a call. Because at this point, let's see here. But yeah, a lot of a lot of interesting things in the news. Some more funny than some more funny than you'd ever know. Excuse me. Some things in the world just must be shared. Let's just call it that. So back to the news, as they say. You know, I got to have my 5 seconds of time just to waste on Facebook. I mean, it is what it is. That's what we do. Social media, although I fear it to consume my life, is a huge part of my life. It's why a lot of my friends will tell you my personal account. You'll see me post like 10 things. But if look at the timestamp on them, they're all like within 20, 30 minutes of each other. And then you won't see anything from me until later on that day or the rest of the day, because I'm trying to really stop my own personal use of it. But as far as, doing the bidding of High Tide Stick or, promoting my album, you can bet your sweet ass I'm going to continue to do that. So let's see here. So anyway, like I said, there's a lot of stuff going on that I think is noteworthy in the news. Let's be real. And we are big about providing the greater Florida area with good news and also with the right news. I mean, here's the thing is, are we a pro marijuana legalization station? Absolutely. I mean, we're not going to sit there and try to, BS you into thinking something else, because that's not the case at all. No, we are pro marijuana legislation station or channel, and we're going to continue to be that. Even if I went to regular airwaves and I got limited to what I could talk about, you could bet your sweet ass if it's making the national news, the marijuana story is going to lead. Bottom line. I'm not changing who I am, no matter what station I work for. If they can live with that, then they're going to get one of the most talented people they've probably ever had working for them in their life. And I know that. I have that faith in myself that I'm good enough at what I do, that you're winning by tolerating some of my point of views. Half the stations they carry Rush Limbaugh probably don't even care for him. Why? Because the man brings in ratings. I don't care for him. The man brings in ratings. I don't like him as a person. As a radio man, he's brilliant. You just have to look past the stupidity of his policies and who he is and a bunch of other crappy things. I mean, that's the reality of it. So I want to get into this Mark Rubio story because I think that it warrants that some attention due to the fact that A, one, we cover a lot of Florida politics, but B, I think it warrants a lot of attention. Excuse me. I think it warrants a lot of attention because I think it's something that is important to politics. I mean, these guys, they can really lie about a lot of stuff. They can hide money. They can shift money. There's some of the best money launderers we have in the world are sitting right in Washington. Let's keep it real. You think any different, you're out of your mind. You done lost your damn mind because, like I said, some of the best politicians we have in the country, right there in Washington. No doubt in my mind, right in Washington. Let's see here. All right. Just got, got to put that Twitter blurb out there to let people know you're live right now. Let them know to join the conversation. 719-201-3609 to call into the studio. If you've got an opinion on any of the stories, we can always jump back too. Whether you guys know this or not, you're actually on a delay. So everything you're hearing me say right now, you heard 10 minutes ago. You know what I mean? Everything you heard me say right now, or 60 seconds ago, everything you hearing me say right now in your ear happened 60 seconds ago. So, we can jump back and revisit the stories. There's a lot of stuff we can do, but join the conversation, get in on it. It's a lot, like I said, a lot of noteworthy stuff in the news today. Excuse me. So here's Marco Rubio's deal. So Marco Rubio disputes Jeb Bush's claim that he misled the public about his fundraising. We didn't mislead. The numbers are there, and it shows that it shows what we raised. Here's the bottom line: we're very comfortable with where we are as an organization and how we spend our money and the progress we've made as a campaign. Rubio says in an interview to air on Fox News channel's The Kelly File. From that transcript, on whether he thinks Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump blamed former President George W. Bush for 9/11, I don't know. But I can tell you that, first of all, the people that were here that conducted those attacks were here illegally on student visas, so that program needs to be reformed. More importantly, the 9/11 attacks were a result of an intelligence failure from an inability to pick up, diffuse different signals, all of which were indicated that something was going to be done, that Al-Qaeda was going to act, but nothing was done about it. More than anything else, it was an intelligence failure, which is why the next president needs to rebuild the intelligence capabilities of the United States, which have been severely damaged over the last few years by the Snowden revelations and by all sorts of other things that have happened with regard to it. That really is what led to the 9/11 attacks, and they predate George W. Bush's presidency. I think we need a political fact check on that statement. Couple things I don't like about it, and where he's completely full of crap, is he said those attacks were here. Those the attackers were here illegally on student visas. Or no, it said legally on student visas. So that's a program that needs to be reformed. Well, technically, first off, 2 of them were here on expired visas. But either way, every one of them, despite what you think, nobody did the old Mexicano Rio Grande, jumpy the border, orale through the river, yay. Seriously, that's not what happened. These guys were here legitly. They had student visas that were issued on the precedent of the grounds that were started at that time. Now, my problem with the Republican Party is this. It's not that they're calling anyone out. Fine, fair enough, whatever. Let's call people out for whatever they did wrong. That's fine. I'm okay with that. I get that. My problem with the party is this. You're telling me, understand this, okay? Because I want to be very, very clear on what I'm saying. You're telling me that a failure in the intelligence community cannot be put on President Bush for 9/11. Fine. I'm okay with that. How are you blaming President Obama for Benghazi then? Let me play the devil's advocate here. Excuse me. Because that's my question. If we have so if the president's Republican and he's our buddy, been a failure by an office under him or in his control is considered okay and can't be blamed on the president, or whether it's okay or not, it just can't be blamed on the president. But hold on now. a failure under a department controlled by the Secretary of Defense. The president didn't really have much to do with that other than the appointment of ambassadors. The Secretary of Defense, Hillary Clinton's department, but we can blame the failure on this president because he's black, because he's a Democrat. I mean, if we let Donald Trump say that because he'll be like, because he wasn't born here. I mean, come on, guys, seriously. Seriously. Fail, bruh. It's a little depressing to me when I think about stuff like that. I mean, when I really think about we continue to put what's happened in this country, we try to put that on someone else. Okay. Now, I find it disrespectful, one, but two, I find it, a tad bit agitating that, so it's okay to blame the president for the death of a handful of people in Benghazi because it happened on his watch, but it's not okay to blame President Bush for over 3,000 deaths that happened in one day on his watch of civilians, nonetheless. This was an attack on military personnel. This was an attack on private citizens. This was an extermination of American lives. This was a mob hit on a large scale. This was a message. And we got the message. Oh, did we get the message loud and clear? But it was still a message. Bothers me some, though, I'll tell you that. Bothers me to all hell that you can blame one guy for doing the same thing that another guy is exempt from doing. I mean, at the end of the day, people, we got to be better than that. You're on the High Tide. Stick with the doc. We'll be right back after the break. Please check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I mean, just all the wonderful different what do you call them? No, I don't know why, but I'm losing my damn mind here. But all the wonderful social media outlets out there. We'll be back right after the break. I'm the doc. You're on High Tide Stick.
Look at Dana on some real ish. This right here, ma, on some real ish. Hope when I'm done, you gon' feel this. Cause this my love letter on some real ish. And between me toes, yeah, you the inspiration. Never lie to you, so you always know what I be facing. Pull me from the fire, help me bring back concentration. The world will never wonder why I ride, you no hesitation. Jealousy don't have haters coming out the shadows. Killing his beat, killing in the bed across the border. I got an attitude, get down myself, and I can be a jerk. I'm intent to be relationship demonstrating that's the work. I wanna build a golden state to take away the worry. Go hard in the paint, nothing but net, yes, even dirty. You a quarterback, strong, feeling proper, full of flurry. I'll be your workhorse, take it to the house, and mark the worry. I know I seem impatient, in a rush, in a hurry. Just trying to find love before the clock hits zero or I'm buried. Past relationships got us such back, you don't want to hurry. Just know it's real, and I never thought this way about anyone. Clearly, look at Dana, on some real ish. This right here, mom. On some real ish. Hope when I'm done, you gon' feel this. Cause it's my love letter. On some real ish. Look at Dana. On some real ish. This right here, ma. On some real ish. Hope when I'm done, you gon' feel this. Cause it's my love letter. real bitch. We built a strangers, so our boy brother grind. Every time seems so easy to get to the light, it must take time. I'm pouring out my heart and soul with every punch line. Relationships are mountains, still on my side, and we will climb. They hurry all the time, the true love is hard to find. A woman of the caliber, a diamond of fine wine. Fair to the world, like they all in their mind. Like they took what they never take 1,000 miles. Repeat the last line 1,000 times just to see it for guys. These other guys only interested in what you signify. I'm only interested in what you purified. Bird City King, like the Eagles, mom, dick like lies. I don't want no other women, you don't need no other guy. The way you look at me never changes because it feels so right. Ride or die, been my biggest fan since she heard these guys. Every relationship has its own what I say, on some real bitch. This right here, mama, on some real bitch. Open up, you don't feel this. Cause it's my love forever, on some real bitch. Look you say, on some real bitch. This right here, mama, on some real bitch. Open up, you don't feel this. Cause it's my love forever, on some real bitch. Look you say, on some real bitch. This right here, mama. On some real bitch, open up, you don't feel this, cause it's my love letter. On some real bitch, look your data. On some real bitch, this right here, ma. On some real bitch, open up, you don't feel this, cause it's my love letter. On some real bitch, on some real bitch.
Oh yeah. So we're back after the break, and we were just talking about, some of the irritations that have resulted from the investigation that's continued on the Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Like I said, I think I'm just more irritated with the fact that they're continuing this onslaught and this continued drive to take down the Secretary of State, because they know that she's I have to say that right now, as it stands right this minute, I don't care what Trump leads in polls. He can't see Hillary. He can smear her. He can try to use. He's going to use fear tactics, scare tactics. And my thing is that in America, if you're that dumb that you have to listen to someone else and you can't figure something out for yourself, then you're an idiot in the first place. I really don't have a lot of love or care for you. I really don't, because Trump's going to turn around and say the president's trying to sign legislation to take your guns away. It's just simply not true. That's not true at all. As a matter of fact, it's impossible based off of the Second Amendment within itself. Restrict automatic weapons? Maybe he is. Maybe we should. Have you thought about it? Restrict any weapons? No, he can't do that. Thank our forefathers. But I can promise you right now, if we didn't have the Second Amendment, your guns would have been taken a long time ago. Trust that shit. If there wasn't the Second Amendment in the United States, there would have been a disarmament of every state that joined the Confederacy during the Civil War. There would have been the intentional disarmament of Americans during the Civil Rights Movement. There would have been a disarmament of Americans during Vietnam. There would have been a disarmament of America in the 80s, in the 90s, in the 2000s, in the 70s, 60s, 50s, 40s, 30s, 20s, 10s, 1800s. America would have been disarmed a long time ago. Now, you think with that democratic Constitution of the United States mind frame, The problem that I have with that is that's not responsible. It's irresponsible as hell to do that. Because I'm saying, if, okay, people, we have to be intelligent enough to do the what ifs. If the Second Amendment was not a guaranteed right as a U.S. citizen, I can put money on it. America would have been disarmed by its government or its people a long time ago. Thank the Second Amendment, you can't be done. Now just know the facts. Donald Trump's using scare tactics to scare you. Hillary Clinton wants to take all your guns. No, she doesn't. Do we want harder? Do we want tougher background checks? Yes. Do we want to make it harder for people to get guns? Yes. If you have lost your noodle, snapped, went off at any point in your life, should we kind of look at you and, even me? When you point at somebody, there's 3 pointing back at you. Even me. Pew, pew, pew. Even me. Everybody deserves a second look anymore. When you have people walking into schools and killing kids, when you have people walking onto college campuses and killing their fellow classmates, when you have people walking into high schools like Columbine and gunning down innocent children, Sandy Hook, innocent children, cops killing people because they think they're armed. You'd be a lot less trigger happy in a country without weapons. I'd be a lot more scared though. You see me? I don't want to give up all the guns. I just think that we need to really, I think common sense legislation has to come together in order to find a positive ground that enacts policy change that protects the American people. It's a very political way. I could have been in a debate that day, right there with that one. I'm telling you. Could have been in the debate with that one. Bernie Sanders says that they should get Larry David from SNL to do the next debate because Bernie Sanders says that he played him better than he plays himself. So that's quite comical. Hitting the news today, U.S. cuts off some of Mexico's drug war aid due to human rights abuse. And I want to get into this story because I think that there are pros and cons in this situation, okay? Let's be very real here. There are pros and cons in this situation. We're going to get to that after the break. Before that, though, we asked the questions based on a story that I read at hightimes.com that's about it's crazy. Anyway, it says, will ceasefire wind down opium war? It's amazing if you guys really knew what your money's being spent on to fight for. Or in some cases, in Burma's a little different. We're not fighting a war in Burma. But what I'm saying is this war in Burma affecting U.S. lives? Possibly. We're going to get into that story here too. Okay. Like I said, before we move on from this, is that you can't let somebody else tell you what to think. You can't let Donald Trump tell you that the president's disarming you, or is going to disarm you. He's ready with his pen at his desk, blah, 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 the bullshit that he says. You have to call him out on that. I mean, I'm not defending Hillary Clinton, by the way. I just want to be clear about that on the Benghazi issue. I'm not defending her on the Benghazi issue. Let me be clear about that. America, the doc is not defending Hillary Clinton on Benghazi. What the doc is doing is saying 8 investigations were done. Holy shit, how much more of American and US tax dollars do you intend to spend on an investigation that's been done 8 times? Please explain to me, as John Q. taxpayer, how my money is being used to benefit the American people. And I swear, if you say the American people have the right to know, I'm going to punch you dead in the mouth. You deserve to be punched in the dick for that. And I'll tell you why. Because that's a dodge question. That's a dodge answer. The American people get to know or need or have the right to know. You bet your sweet ass we do. And 8 times we were told no foul play. Bad shit happened. See, this is, you guys ready for this one? Ooh, I wish I had Chris on the phone right now, because Chris would eat you alive over this. Where are you at when I need you, Chris? Seriously. My good friend Chris, where the F are you when I need you? Telling you. Disgrace. Like I said,
Please leave.
it's amazing to me that we want to use the precedent that the American people have the right to know what happened in Benghazi. We're fine. You're right. And we do know. And it wasn't just the State Department's investigation. It wasn't just an internal affairs type investigation. Those were done. But it wasn't just those. This is a witch hunt. That's why I'm defending Hillary Clinton, because it's shitty, dirty, sideways politics. First off, let's be very real here. Hands down, probably after Joe Biden, when you talk about readiness on U.S. domestic and foreign policy, readiness on U.S. domestic and foreign military, readiness on economics, growth, and job creation, readiness on when and when not to go that far, war, nuclear response, or trigger. When you talk about readiness to run a country, I have to argue, in this order, probably the most fit to do the job. I'd have to argue this order. First, Joe Biden. Please argue that. The level of intelligence he has. The vice president or VP is clearly involved in tons of economic and foreign policy. Followed by, of course, right after Joe Biden, probably the most qualified to run this country. Listen, hate it or love it, when we talk about purely qualified and readiness to run this country of blacks, whites, Latinos, Asians, Native Americans, Canadians live here, Mexicans, every type of background and culture lives in this very country. The good old USA. So when you talk about the readiness to run a nation, the preparedness to go to war, when you talk about this, when you declare something to that degree, you have to go with Madam Secretary Clinton, #2. If this were a Republican cabinet right now, because I want to be clear, I'm not being biased. I know that a lot of the times Democrats get accused of being biased, but Republicans aren't. I mean, it's just a battle. I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. I'm actually an independent. I just vote Democrat because I wanted I wanted to vote in the primaries, and then I had I was registered as a Republican for 8 years. The first 8 years I could vote, Republican, registered. Voted Republican both times I was registered as a Republican. Didn't like John Kerry at the time. Just thought he was too wishy-washy. He tried to play politics with me. And now he leads foreign policy, and he's not playing politics. He's living them, and I actually have an appreciation for him. If he ran this time around, he might get my vote. By the way, probably third most qualified and ready to lead this nation is John Kerry. You notice how there's not a Republican in the top three, right? Because I'm not going to put one in the top three. Why? Why do you say why? Simple. Republicans are job killers. Republicans drive down minimum wage. Republicans drive up healthcare costs. Republicans drive up wealth for the rich while driving down wealth from the middle class and the poor. Republicans write policies that restrict freedoms for Americans. Republicans put anti-abortion laws into place in order to stop women from having the right to choose what to do with their body. Republicans put a war on black people, which turned into a war on all people in America because it turns out everybody smokes pot. You can't be in the top three if you hate gay people. It's a very large piece of the American public, whether you realize it or not. I'd say it's probably at least in the 10% range. There are probably at least 30 million gay people in this country for every 300 mil. Simple as that. 10%. Somewhere in that ballpark. It's interesting to me. How close-minded we really can be. That's all I'm going to say. Number 4, you're not going to like this, especially you Democrats out there. Number 4, probably most qualified to lead this nation, in all honesty. Freaks me the F out, but Donald Trump. 4th, no doubt about it. And I'll tell you why. Because if I can't have Clinton or Biden, I'd rather have a Clinton-Biden ticket and just shuffle them right up. President Biden, VP Clinton. That's a ticket I'd vote for. I'd also vote for a Clinton president, Sanders VP. But it also is going to depend on who they appoint as a Secretary of State, because that's a third in line. And so you got to think, hey, let's be honest. Senator Sanders is very old, and him as the president, a little scary. He's been accused of being a communist. Let's be real. Now, communist is like an F word for socialist. I think that he's very social. He's a socialist by far. But I mean, I even lean more towards socialist, because I think that it takes a village to raise an idiot. And since I'm not an idiot, how many villages did it take to raise me? We all need each other. That's why we pay taxes, so teachers can get paid. There's some people in this country that don't want to pay any taxes ever again. At all. None. But that means when you go to register your kid for school, you have to pay out of pocket. Yeah. Out of pocket. They'll still tax commodities. It just may be at the purchase point, meaning I buy oil at $50 for $100 or $50 for a 50-gallon drum. That's $1 a barrel or $1 a gallon of crude oil. When I buy it, government taxes me a 100% markup, 100% tax markup, so I pay $100 a barrel. Your gas prices are still around $2.35 a gallon, because you're going to pay whatever the hell I decide you pay because now there's no regulation. See, that's the thing about taxes is the minute you tax something, then you have to regulate the hell out of it in so many different ways that it's almost phenomenal how we do it. We're a lot like colonial ants. We really are. Like we stick together, we colonize. Everybody has a job. You do your job, and things work great. One piece of that system or that flow breaks down. That cycle breaks down anywhere in there, and boom, it can fail. But outside of that, we're actually a very unique species at doing this. I'm confused by it. To all hell, to be honest with you. We're gonna go to break. When we come back, we're gonna finish up the stories today. Like I said, interesting point. Alex said I'll put my damn mic pop is still happening today. It's driving me nuts. I will post my findings, and like I said, again, my readiness report for fit to run this nation, politician by politician. I will tell you why Donald Trump can't be any higher than fourth is because he knows dick about foreign policy. And I can promise you, if you approach foreign policy like you approach business, like a bully, he's going to end up getting us into a couple of wars within just a 4-year term, and he won't get reelected. My point being is this. When I say ready to lead the nation right now, fit and ready, I say Biden, Clinton, Kerry, Trump, in that order. In that order, because you have, again, the VP, which knows damn near everything the president knows, the Secretary of State, who better be a foreign policy whiz, and then you have our foreign policy advisor, Mr. Kerry, our foreign policy, our Secretary of Foreign Policy, or whatever, I forget what his actual job is, but he deals with foreign policy. He's the most fit to run this country outside of this country by far. If you ask me, he's probably the most fit to run this country outside of this country. And that's saying good things about Mr. Kerry. Again, my humble opinion, Trump fourth. Because show me somebody in the Democratic Party that's good enough. Maybe Sanders fifth. Maybe. Ben Carlson sixth, but I don't like him. I think if Ben Carlson took public campaign money, public donation money, I don't think they can until the general election. But if he did for any reason or whatsoever, kind of questioning, did he do this to sell his books? Because I think Trump paid him off. I think Trump's paying him to back down, fall behind in the polls a little bit, but stay close enough to be a contender, but fall down far enough that we can be buddies. And guess what? You'll be the first black vice president of the United States, and you'll be the first black, you'll have the highest office anybody in, any African Americans ever held. Just back down or you're fired. I can't do Donald Trump. I can't. He's got like the squinty eyes. Like, can't do him. No. Just kidding. So, anyway, like I said, we're gonna get to break. We'll cover these stories, the other stories. I started getting my political soapbox on Tuesday, but it is Taco Tuesday. I had to. That's the only thing I can say is, as we get out of here to break, is I'm not going to apologize for getting on my political soapbox. I'm simply just going to say that I had to. I had to get on that soapbox. Because when you're me and you're trying to make a point, I'll jump on whatever box it takes. Because the fact of the matter is, I just want common sense politics. And that's something that we haven't seen out of the GOP and we've barely seen out of the Democratic Party. I'm the Doc, High Tide Stick. Alright, man. We was sitting around, man. We was at work up at work, smoking a chop on lunch, man. Yeah, I said it was chop, nigga.
And Rick Flyers beat me. He's like, we gonna do some of this, and well, you know, this is pretty much the first thing that came to mind. This right here, and I said, I can't fucking deny that I stay fly. From my shoes to my ride. That's why y'all some bitch ass haters. I can't fucking deny that I stay fly. From my shoes to my ride. That's why y'all some bitch ass haters. I stay fly high to the fucking sky. Birds sitting, answer haters' questions. Why? Shoes all white, she called me crispy clean. Pockets money stuff, she called them crispy clean. Holy shit, got a wallet having a wet dream. Y'all stay hating cause I'm more than I seem. Why chicks in your contact list making my phone ring? Cause I'm off to change two bracelets and all of your fucking rings. Off in the thing, all your fucking jewelry. I stay so far off the charge, yeah, it's fucking scary. Hey, Rick and Thomas, when I'm done, they gone and heard me. Can I get a witness, and who's the fucking jury? If D implies a crime, vote guilty to convict me. Just like they did way back in '02 down in Tempe. Go back to when I was trapping, please tempt me. I'll give you bitches a million reasons to resent me, cause I can't fucking deny that I stay fly. From my shoes to the sky. That's why y'all some fucking haters. I can't fucking deny that I stay fly. From my shoes to the sky. That's why y'all some bitch ass haters.
Looking through the lenses of my fucking sunglasses, then all I see around me is some fucking haters. So I tell MistaTre to watch his body language. Get a look at Thomas in case he try to play us. Man, you know he's lying. You don't let him pay me. Money on my mind, don't care about the payment. Rolling forward, perking, hiding in a spaceship. Some on my tongue, I'm about to let you say it. Damn, you rapping something here, really talking bitch. So you fucking game up, you taking no fish. So if you average fly like a G4's, well, homie, I'm a fucking miss. So you know my game official. Going at your girl, man, she like to blow my whistle. I'm not Kirkle, but keep it banging like a pistol. Shit where I want, like I don't need a litter. Travel so much, like I don't need a drip.
I can't fucking deny that I stay fly. From my crib till I die.
That's why y'all some fucking haters.
I can't fucking deny that I stay fly. From my crib till I die.
That's why y'all some bitch ass haters. I know you see me quickly move, walking on them haters. Riding by, riding high, so inflated, always deep-baited, quadruple X-rated. Touching on the super, I keep them elated, celebrated. Yeah, I know you like that. I make it boomerang, she bring it right back. Yeah, ladies love me, girls adore me, even the ones who ignored me. Like the rapper has a mic, got a neck on the throat. The Cadillac Eldor ready to go. The throttle on cruise, the bass nigga I'm Uber J on the island where the sand is blue. Smoke make a scene with the grooms, me. Cash rules are insane for you and me. Stay paid, self-made, gotta keep it elite. RMK, nigga, let's eat. Oh man, we got it made. The mission don't stop. The message won't fade. Baby girl, feed me love under the shade. Can't deny, I stay fly. Gotta keep it 8th grade. Yeah.
I can't fucking deny How I do it, I'm too cool with it. I hit the studio, go foolish and just ruin shit. They can't see me, they wanna be me. I go hard, but I make it look easy. Easy, easy, easy. I go hard, but I make it look easy. Easy, easy, easy.
Yeah. Welcome back. Don't forget to like us on Google Plus, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Periscope, Twitter, all of them. It's High Tide Stick, of course, the show. We love you guys for following. Thanks for keeping up with us. So, before we went to break, talked about the readiness of this country. Again, I stand by what I say. I really think that in that order: 1, Biden; 2, Hillary; 3, Kerry; 4, Trump; 5, Sanders; 6, Carlson. In that order, probably the most likely to lead this nation ready. There is, of course, our great military candidate on the Republican side. As you can see, he's further down the list, but it's because I think that he has a strong military background and a strong military presence as a candidate. I just don't, which is going to make him strong in foreign policy. However, a lot of those former military people are great because they're in touch with the tone of the world. But are they in touch with what's going on here at home? That's exactly what my biggest fear with Trump is that he's a great businessman. He's good at business, but is he in touch with the way politics work and the way things run? Probably not. So, and that's kind of where I stand with that, at least. So my next story here, which is going to cover the story title says U.S. cuts off some of Mexico's drug war aid due to human rights abuse. That story is a story that I think that warrants us to cover. I think that it's a fair. I think it's a fair deal here, but you guys be the judge of that. Since 2008, the U.S. Congress has appropriated $2.3 billion to help Mexico in its battle against the drug cartels. Now, following years of abuse committed by Mexican security forces, the U.S. State Department has announced that Mexico has not made the grade in the terms of human rights goals, and which will result in a portion of that aid being cut off. The most notorious case being the disappearance of 43 students last year, which the Mexican government consistently whitewashed and covered up. Quote, I think they basically decided we cannot honestly or in good faith say that there has been enough progress made in Mexico. And that was a quote from Maureen Meyer from the Washington office of Latin America on Latin America. And that's what she told the Washington Post not too long ago. The State Department's 2014 annual report on human rights underscored numerous allegations that the Mexican government or its agents committed arbitrarily or unlawful killing, often with impunity. The report also described the forced disappearance of thousands of people, torture, arbitrary arrest, and imprisonment. In the past, U.S. diplomats have been tolerant of Mexico's miserable human rights record, presumably to keep them as partners on the war on drugs. The Washington Post, the Mexican Foreign Ministry called the U.S. Certification of Human Rights efforts an obligation imposed by U.S. Congress on the government, not an obligation Mexico has to meet. Well, you don't want to meet the obligation. Don't be upset when we cut off your money, and that's an honest statement. I mean, if you want to be our partner and we're the ones footing the bill, you really have to, fall in line with, you have to fall in line with that. I mean, we're your funding party or your funding faction, so you have to fall in line with that. I don't. I'm not one to sit here and say, well, I know this is gonna help for this reason. I don't know that. Um, what I do know is that if we're gonna be involved in the war on drugs, the alleged war on drugs, I should say, then the one thing that I will openly admit and say with that said is that we have an obligation to the American people to maintain a certain level of human rights within that partnership with that nation. And if we are not, then it begs to question our intentions. Next title: Burma will cease fire, wind down opium war. Last week, Burma President Thein Sein signed a ceasefire with 8 armed rebel groups in a bid to bring the country's multiple ethnic insurgencies to an end before next month's general elections. The first since a normally civilian government took over and pledged a domestic transition in 2011 after decades of dictatorship. The agreement seeks to incorporate rebel groups into the political process, ending a war that has persisted since Burmese independence in 1948. So they've been at war for well over a half a century. But while the pact is optimistically dubbed the Nationwide Ceasefire Agreement, NCA, 7 armed groups involved in the peace talks did not sign the final deal. Among the 7 non-signatories is the largest rebel army, the United Wa State Army, with an estimated 25,000 fighters. History will judge the value of the NCA not by the number of signatures, but how the terms of the NCA are effectively implemented, Sein said, trying to put a good spin on the situation. Also among those who didn't sign are the Kitchen Independence Army and the Kokang armed factions along the Chinese border. One of the most significant groups signing on the deal, the Karen National Union, actually entered into the ceasefire with the government in 2012. So they've actually been at a ceasefire with the government for a couple of years, like 3 years now. And while European and Chinese diplomats were on hand for the signing ceremony in Yangon, Aung San Suu Kyi, leader of the National League of Democracy, the political party expected to win next month's election, skipped the ceremony. Meanwhile, the opium growing in the Golden Triangle is continuing to catch up to Afghanistan as the world's top producer. Last year, the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, the UNODC, reported that poppy cultivation in the Golden Triangle of Myanmar, which is Burma, and Laos rose in 2014 to 63,800 ha. That's hectares. Compared with 61,000 ha in 2013, the estimated total of the opium produced in that area in 2014 is approximately 762 tons, with the overwhelming majority of cultivation continuing to take place in Myanmar. One of the reasons for the surge in opium production is the encouragement by the ethnic armies to cultivate in order to fund their insurgencies. Gathering virtually no media coverage was a statement issued by the 3rd Myanmar Opium Farmer Forum, issued in September after the meeting in Burma's north that brought together poppy growers from throughout the country's Golden Triangle islands, or lands, I mean. They said, we grow opium in order to ensure food security for our family and provide our basic needs, and to have access to health and education. The statement read, "We grow opium because of poverty and because we live in isolated and mountainous and high elevated areas where it is difficult to grow other crops. Infrastructure is weak, and we face difficulties to transport crops, and where we have difficulty to access markets. We also have little access to land to grow other crops. The large majority of opium farmers are not rich and grow it for their survival. Therefore, they should not be treated as criminals." I agree. This is a lot like marijuana. However, opium is, of course, the raw drug it's the raw form of heroin. Opium is the pure raw form of most of the narcotic painkillers we take are opiate based. Excuse me, a little on the sleepy side today. So this is a tough one because I don't agree with what you're growing. If you were growing pot, I probably wouldn't care. But it's definitely, like I said, it's a noteworthy topic. I'm going to stay on that story and kind of just see where this berm thing goes and who wins the election, what party wins the election. But for me, I'm not convinced that that you can only grow opium up in those mountain regions. I promise you that much. It's bullshit. There's got to be something else. I mean, let's bring in some of our scientists, our doctors, and help them out. I mean, we've found ways to make corn pest resistant. We found ways to make corn grow in the least amount of possible water that it can take, and we've genetically altered corn to the degree that we've made it a super plant that it can pretty much grow anywhere at any time. So I know for a fact U.S. grade genetically altered corn can grow in Burma and Myanmar. Now, I'm not saying that's what they should do. I'm just simply saying that there are other options. Have you explored those options, or is war the only thing? Burma, come on. Let's go. You got to get it together. You can't do this. We're going to get out of here for today. Those are the two big stories that we're hitting the marijuana culture type area. As far as it goes here, we're going to be back tomorrow, bright and early, 9 a.m. I think is when the show airs tomorrow. So just, kind of stick with us, and we'll take care of you, and we'll get you out of here. I'm the Doc. You've been on High Tide Stick.
Watch me through the money, watch I know you go. Bad girl, bad girl, bad girl. You said bad girl. On a real note, I wanna leave what you know. Money ain't a thing, that's we do for things. Can't but to think of you when I go. I suppose you say you're a freak, but always see the bad shit. It's harder, should it gets better. I can take you to a different level. Two people might not agree, but you know what's your love. You got to do what you got to do, so I'm like whatever. I can make your body move, yeah. I can even take you higher. Drunk out with a feeling on it. Hey, shawty, what if you shawty? I can handle more. Turn me up, with your belly. Freak, she's a bad girl. And every freakish kind of black girl. Ain't no limits where you go. Bad girl, bad girl, bad girl. Watch me throw the money, watch I know you go. Bad girl, bad girl, bad girl, bad girl. You said bad girl. I know my pain came here, so show me something. I see you watching, but now you be eyeballing. Soon as your shift is over, can we be all night? I can see my hands on your thighs till it's alright. Look, can we come alive? Like we on a roller coaster. It don't matter how I approach ya. Looks like you could be a soldier, down for whatever mission. I know you was scared to drop your panties, girl. We are, so don't mind how you want that sound. You can leave your heels on while we vibe to the sex song. Everything we do will be paid for, yeah.